Good morning and welcome to Take Your Life Back Today show with Ralf Friedrichs. Today's topic will be the greatest lies that addicts truly believe, whether as little as they don't have a problem to as much as possibly that it's everybody else's fault. This is the topic for today. As always, I just want to give a shout out to a good friend of mine and a fellow addiction recovery coach, a fellow life coach with over 30 years experience. His name is Larry Geese, and he is from the Geese Academy, and you can find him on the web at www.odysseyconsultant.org. That's www.odysseyconsultant.org. You can give him a call at 516-485-2741. Let him help you to walk with your from your addiction to your recovery, hand in hand, day by day. He will never ever talk about your past like I wouldn't either, because what we are is we are addiction recovery coaches and life coaches, and what we do is worry about today and your plans for tomorrow. We really, not that we don't care about yesterday, but yesterday is done, it is gone. We are worried about today and we are worried about tomorrow. Give Larry Geese a call at 516-485-2741. Go to the website at www.odysseyconsultant.org. When you get in touch with Larry, tell him that you saw him or you heard about him on the Take Your Life Back Today show, and ask Larry to take your life back. Give a shout out to globaleyeglasses.com, where they are focused on saving you money. They have glasses, frames, for as low as $6 going up to $69. What those frames include are regular plastic, non-coated, single vision plastic, I believe I said that, lenses, a cloth, and a case. Now, if you need progressives, they have them. If you need transitions of photochromatic to polarized lenses, they also have them. They can make your lenses from this thick to thinner, about 27% thinner. They can make your night driving so much more pleasing to the eye by putting anti-reflecting coating on there. They can also give you UV coating into your lens to protect you from the UVA and B out there. All that is available at globaleyeglasses.com, where they are focused on saving you money. And here's the great thing, folks. I have been in the optometry business for 30 years. Ever since I started doing the commercials on my show, people have called me not only for their addiction issues, but also to speak about glasses, and I have helped over 100 people since maybe November, since I started announcing Global Eyeglasses on my show. So it is working because I can help you pick the proper frame and pick the right lenses, so that when you get your glasses, you will see why Global Eyeglasses is focused on saving you money. I want to give a shout out also to my websites, www.takeyourlifebacktoday show. That's this show. You can see probably the last 20 episodes, the most recent episodes on there. However, if you go to my YouTube channel, just go into the search bar on YouTube, either Ralf Friedrichs or Take Your Life Back Today show, you will see 480 something episodes. Go to my other websites, www.clearreform.com and clearviews.info. Both have information on addiction and recovery. My Clear Reform helps you take your life back. That is my addiction recovery coaching website, where I will help you take your life back. Now here we have 3 pages from the CDC. The greatest lies addicts believe. Addicts and dishonesty. In order for people to sustain an addiction, they need to become dishonest. This is not only means that they will lie to other people, but most importantly, they are lying to themselves. The destruction caused by substance abuse is usually obvious, and somehow the addict is able to ignore it. They fall into a world of denial and delusion, and they develop the ability to excuse the inexcusable. The greatest lies the addicts believe include the first one: I am different. Sigmund Freud once claimed that every normal person, in fact, is only normal on the average. His ego approximates to that of a psychotic in some part or other, and a greater or lesser extent. Terminally uniqueness develops when people have particularly strong sense of ego. It is the belief that what the person is facing in life is unlike anything else faced by any other people. It is called terminal uniqueness because this way of thinking can get people killed. It explains how substance abusers can continue with their behaviors even though they seem to harm it. They see the harm that it causes to themselves and to other people. Substance abuse leads to increased creativity. One of the most common myths that substance abusers like to hold on to is that this behavior is a sign of creativity. They may even believe that it is only through using alcohol and drugs that people can be creative. The myth has arisen because of the history of famous artists, writers, and musicians who were also addicts. What people fail to realize is that these people managed to remain creative despite their substance abuse problems. In fact, people like Jackson Pollock were at their most creative during their sober periods. The idea that using alcohol and drugs makes people more creative is a dangerous lie that has been amply proved false. So all those people that you hear out there that say, I have written the best songs under the influence, or I have painted the best paintings, they are lying to themselves. Life in addiction recovery is boring. Some people like to tell that lie to themselves. Addicts can try to justify continued alcohol or drug abuse by claiming that life in recovery would be boring, which I will tell you is not. The strange thing is that life of substance abuser, that it is full of repetitive behavior and predictability. When people abuse drugs and alcohol, they drastically reduce their options in life and things get worse over time. Eventually, the addiction leads the individual into a miserable existence where their priority is trying to keep feeding their habit. If these people become sober, they will be able to take their life in any direction that they choose. They will have endless options to choose from. In many cases, people like myself say there are not enough hours in a day to do everything that I really truly want to do. Addiction is the best that the individual can hope for in life. Those individuals who suffer from low esteem may believe that the misery of addiction is the best they can hope for in life. Their low self-worth means that they were willing to accept the bare minimum of life because they don't feel that they deserve any more than this. It is common for those who fall into addiction to suffer from low self-esteem, and this keeps them trapped until they finally realize that they deserve better. Some beer drinkers believe that beer drinkers cannot be addicts. Another dangerous myth is that beer drinkers cannot be addicts. The idea has developed because of the association of alcoholism with the taste of liquor. In fact, it is perfectly possible to become an alcoholic while only drinking beer. One reason for why alcohol abusers turn to spirits is that it can be a cheaper and faster way to become intoxicated. Many of these people might have been happy to stick with the beer that they had the money to do so, if they had the money to do so. Beer is as harmful to the body as any alcoholic drink, and those who think otherwise are misinformed. Sober people are miserable. This lie is a type of dishonest behavior and belief that helps the addict deal with their own miserable situation. It is an attempt by these people to protect their ego by developing relationships for their behavior. A classic example of how this works would be a Aesop tale of the fox and the grapes. A fox is walking through the forest and notices some delicious looking grapes. He realizes that the grapes are too high for him to reach, so he decides that they are not tasty and just ignores them totally. Addicts suffer from a similar pattern of thinking. They develop the belief that sober life is beyond their reach, but they make themselves feel better by deciding that sober people are miserable anyway. A similar idea to this poor person who is convinced that rich people are always going to be unhappy. The similar idea is that a poor person who is convinced that rich people are always going to be unhappy. That's a shame. Successful people cannot be addicts. Another dangerous myth is that high achievers cannot be addicts. The reason for why this misleading idea has developed is due to the stereotypical image of the addict portrayed in the media. It hides the reality that successful people are just as susceptible to addiction as anyone else out there. Some might even say that personality of high achievers may make them more prone to addiction. The high-functioning addict is better able to hide their problems, but alcohol and drugs will still be causing a great deal of discomfort in their life. If they fail to get help for their problems, they could lose everything or die much younger than they would normally be expected. Life in recovery is a constant battle against cravings. Addicts have a genuine fear that if they become sober, they would spend the rest of their life battling their cravings. Because of the recovery sounds more like a prison sentence than more joyful way of life. It is true that even people who have been sober many years may develop cravings for the substance they were once addicted to, but this will be a rare event. Most sober people will spend hardly any time passing their former drug. Months or even years can go without the slightest craving at all. The incidence of cravings tends to be highest in early recovery, but after they drop off dramatically. I am a great example for this. In the beginning, the first 2 weeks, as I have stated so many times during my shows, it was the hardest. As time goes on, and now on 2 years, the cravings are non-existent. Everyone is going to die anyway, so let's have the best party of our life. There is some truth to that claim that everyone's going to die anyway, so it's best to party hard. The problem is such behavior does not lead to a better existence. It is obvious, though, that substance abuse does make people happier. It robs them of everything worthwhile in life and often leads to painful death. The advice to party hard may still be valid, but not if it involves using drugs and alcohol. The problem is such behavior does not lead to a better existence. If a permanent intoxication was the answer to existential angst, everyone would be doing it. It is obvious, though, that substance abuse does not, I repeat, does not make you happier. Chronic relapses will never, ever get sober. Most addicts will have a history of failed attempts to getting sober, like I did. I had 6 or 7 tries before I finally hit rock bottom. They may take this to mean that recovery is not just an option for them. These people fail to realize that those who have successfully built a life in recovery will often have a history of chronic relapses. Amen to that. The difference is that they kept trying until they eventually managed to sustain sobriety. Just because people have failed in their recovery attempts previously does not mean their next attempt is a sure failure. Of course, it will be a great help if they can understand why they failed before they approach things differently the next time. Relapse is a normal part of recovery. The idea that relapse is a normal part of recovery is not a lie, but it is often misunderstood. Most people who achieve lasting sobriety will have a history of failed previous attempts prior to this. The problem is that some addicts will use this as an excuse to keep relapsing. That was one of my biggest problems that I had with AA when I was attending, is that people said, yeah, we had a drink last week, so let's start again. It is not okay to relapse purposely over and over, or use relapse as a crutch to continuously feed into your addiction. They will claim that what they were doing is normal by relapsing. There is absolutely no reason for people to relapse before achieving lasting sobriety, and some people do manage to do it their first time. Substance abuse as a normal behavior. The reason why addicts view substance abuse as a normal behavior is that they tend to surround themselves with like-minded people. The group will reinforce the maladaptive behavior and will view non-drug users as the deviants. The reality is, though, that in the larger society, substance abuse will always be viewed as abnormal and self-destructive. When people become sober, they begin to spending more time with sober people than they do, and they start avoiding people that actually abuse drugs and alcohol. Folks, the title of this is The Greatest Lies Addicts Believe, Addicts and Dishonesty. In order for people to sustain addiction, they need to become dishonest. That's just a normality. This not only means that they will lie to other people, but they will absolutely lie to themselves and believe their own lies. The destruction caused by substance abuse is usually obvious, but somehow the addict is able to ignore it, purposely, I'm sure. They fall into the world of denial and delusion, and they develop the ability to excuse the inexcusable. The greatest lie the addicts believe is they truly believe that they are different. Sigmund Freud once claimed that every normal person, in fact, is only normal on the average. His ego approximates to that of a psychotic in some part or other in a lesser extent. Substance abuse leads to increased creativity. One of the most common myths that substance abuse like to hold on to is that of behavior of sign and creativity. It is believed by a lot of people, including myself at one time, that when you hear these rock stars, these artists, the superstar athletes, that say they play, draw, sing, play music their best when high, or wrote the best songs, in fact, that is totally wrong. They believe that because they're using that as a crutch. They believe that they wrote this song to sell thousands, millions of copies because they were high, and that song is successful because of that. Wrong. Most people that have written songs, painted, played in rock groups that have been the most successful consecutively, in other words, they have over and over and over hitting those high sale volumes, those people are sober. So when that addicted person one time or twice sells an unbelievable amount of records, they believe it was because they were high. They use that as a crutch to excuse the unexcusable, which is to feed their alcohol and their drug addiction. Life in addiction recovery is boring. Folks, I will tell you that is not true. Addicts can try to justify continued use of drug and alcohol by claiming that life in recovery is boring. The strange thing is that life of substance abuser that is full of repetitive behavior is predictable. When people abuse drugs and alcohol, they drastically reduce their options in life. I get to a point where I don't think there's even enough hours in the day, folks. Life in recovery is not boring. Life in recovery is as exciting, as pleasant, like anything else that's successful in life. It's how you make it and how you approach it and how you think here. If you start thinking positive, positive things will happen. Think that life in recovery is a positive thing because you are buying yourself extra days on this beautiful earth. Addiction is the best that an individual can hope for in life. That is so sad. But to think that I might have thought the same thing, to live, to drink vodka every day was the highlight of my life. Now, it is to spend time with friends, family. It is to do my show. It is to help people that cannot help themselves, or that maybe can help themselves but need that extra little nudge to help themselves. Beer drinkers cannot be addicts? Absolutely wrong. Drinking beer is just as dangerous, it's just as bad, and will kill you just as quickly as alcohol, as spirits. The reason a lot of people utilize this theory is because they will go to liquor also, because it's cheaper and quicker. It takes a lot of beer to get you to a point what maybe 3 or 4 shots of alcohol will do. And the beer can be so much more expensive. Haven't you ever wondered why is it that non-alcoholic beer like O'Doul's is so expensive? I cannot figure that out. It's almost like the people that market non-alcoholic beer are telling the consumer, you don't want to drink this because it's so expensive. It's almost like they don't want you to buy it because they raised the prices so high. Shame on them. Sober people are miserable. Wrong. Folks, do you ever see me miserable on the show? Or if you follow me on Facebook or any of my websites, I put out the positive quotes for anywhere from 10 to 20 a day on Facebook to lift your spirit, to enhance your life. So, sober people are miserable? Absolutely wrong. Successful people can be addicts. During one of my interviews on a show called The Name to Know, I said that a judge, a lawyer, a cop, priest, all can be addicts. The devil who wants you to become an alcohol or drug abuser does not care what your profession is. Life in recovery is a constant battle against cravings. Yes, in the beginning that is a true fact. The first 2 weeks were miserable for me, but as time goes on, you will see that the cravings become less and less. Everyone is going to die anyway, so party hard. That is a true fact. The first part of that statement. Everybody is going to die anyway. My question to you folks is, why would you accelerate your death by abusing drugs and alcohol? That is absolutely crazy. Chronic relapses will never get sober. Absolutely false. As long as you don't use a relapse as a crutch to keep drinking or keep doing drugs, you can have those relapses. It will happen. I had 6 to 7. Relapse is a normal part of recovery, true, as long as you don't use that relapse as a crutch to feed your addiction. As time goes on, every time you relapse, analyze what caused this relapse. Was it a stressor? Was it a trigger? Was it a family member? Was it financial? And before you dive back into it, try to solve the problem that caused the relapse in the first place. Substance abuse is a normal behavior. The reason why addicts view substance abuse as normal behavior is that they tend to surround themselves with like-minded people. If you want to become a follower, a sheep, and just hang around with people that are abusing drugs and alcohol because they say it's okay, you're going to listen. I feel bad for you because you need to make that decision today that you are done with drugs and alcohol. Don't believe the lies that are out there. The greatest lies that addicts believe are these. Don't believe them. Start thinking for yourself. Start knowing that a sober today, I guarantee you, will make a better tomorrow. And if you start thinking positive and eliminating all those lies that are out there about drugs and alcohol, if you start thinking positive results will happen in your life. Remember, any changes that I ever speak of all happen with very small steps. You need to take those baby steps to see the changes happen. But when those changes start happening, you'll be amazed about how life can be so much better. Folks, teach your children and your grandchildren to say no to drugs and alcohol. And please remember that a sober today, I guarantee you, and I promise you, makes a better tomorrow. Folks, I hope to God you have a great day, but more importantly, I pray to God that you have a sober day, and may God bless you.